So, what does it actually take to build an AI that can think for itself, do research, and even take action? Well, it's probably not what you're thinking. It's not about writing thousands and thousands of lines of complex code. It's really about putting together 4 key pillars of intelligence. And today, we're going to give you the exact blueprint to build your very first AI agent.
Okay, before we dive under the hood, let's just take a look at what we're actually building here. So it all starts with you asking a simple question. Then the agent goes out, it scours the web, pulls together everything it finds into a nice, clean report, and then saves it for you. It's a really simple but super powerful workflow. That's our destination. Now let's check out the map that's going to get us there.
All right, so here's our game plan for putting this agent together. First, we're going to start with the main idea, the core concept. Then we'll give it a brain. That's the LLM. After that, we'll teach it how to think in a structured way, give it a really clear job description, and then, for the grand finale, we'll connect it to the real world with some awesome tools.
So let's just start by reframing how we think about building AI in the first place. You gotta forget that Hollywood image, the lone genius typing away, writing crazy complex algorithms. The way we do it now, it's much more like being an architect. We're not making the bricks from scratch. We're taking these incredibly powerful, ready-made building blocks of intelligence and just figuring out how to assemble them into something brand new and super useful.
Okay, every intelligence system, and I mean every single one, needs a core engine, a source of raw brain power. And for our agent, well, this is its brain. Let's dig into the tech that makes this whole thing tick. So, the agent's brain, it's a large language model, or what we all call an LLM. The best way to think about it is like a brilliant, super well-read genius who's basically read the entire internet. It can write, it can reason, it can understand language just like a person. But, and this is a big but, right now, that genius is completely untamed. It's all creativity with zero discipline, and that's the very first piece of our puzzle.
And what's really cool is that you actually get to choose which brain you want to install. You could go with something from OpenAI like their GPT models, or maybe one of Anthropic's Claude models. And there are others too. To connect your code to them, you just use something called an API key. Seriously, just think of it like a secure password that lets your app tap into all that incredible intelligence.
Okay, so we have a brilliant, creative brain. Awesome. But here's the problem. If you ask it a question, you have no idea what you're going to get back. It might give you a poem or a long paragraph, maybe a bulleted list. And for our agent to be a tool we can actually rely on, we have to tame that creative chaos and give it some predictable structure.
I mean, look at this. You ask about the capital of France and you get this nice little paragraph. And yeah, it's totally correct if you're a person reading it. But for another piece of software, this is just a big, messy blob of text. There's no easy way to pull out the key facts. We need our agent to speak the language of data, not just prose.
And this is what we need instead. Every single time. We want a perfectly structured report. We don't just want a rambling answer. We want the topic, the summary, the sources, the tools it used, all of it, neatly organized into specific fields. It's this consistency that transforms a simple chatbot into a truly reliable data processing agent. So how do we force it to follow that structure? We use a blueprint. Now, if you're in the Python world, this is often done with something called a pydantic model. But honestly, the name doesn't matter. The concept is what's important. We're giving the LLM a super strict template that it has to fill out. No exceptions. It's not allowed to get creative with the format anymore. This is the exact step that turns our free-spirited artist into a reliable engineer. Okay, quick recap. We've got a brain, and we've got a blueprint to make sure its answers are structured. But the agent still has no idea what its job is. It doesn't know what it's supposed to do, so we need to give it a job description. And we do that with something called a prompt template. And let me tell you, this is, without a doubt, the most important piece of the entire puzzle. Just think of it as the agent's super detailed job description. It tells the agent who it's supposed to be, what its goals are, and the exact rules of the game, including that critical instruction to use the blueprint we just made.
Now, a really powerful prompt isn't just a single command, it's more like a layered conversation. First up, you've got the system message. This sets its whole identity. Like, you are a world-class research assistant. That's its persona. Then you have the user query, which is just the specific thing you're asking it to do right now. The format instructions are the rules, telling it exactly how to report back using our blueprint. And then there's the agent scratchpad, which is honestly fascinating. It's a place for the agent to basically think out loud so we can actually see its chain of thought.
All right, so far we've built a pretty brilliant thinker that can organize its thoughts really neatly. But here's the thing. It's still trapped inside its own head. Now it's time to connect it to the outside world.
This is where we turn our thinker into a doer. You have to remember, an LLM's knowledge is basically frozen in time. It only knows about stuff up until the day its training data was cut off. That literally makes it a brain in a box. So to break it out of that box, we give it tools. These tools are like its hands and its senses, letting it actually see and interact with the world as it is right now.
And just like that, its capabilities absolutely explode. Give it a web search tool and suddenly it can answer questions about what happened 5 minutes ago. Give it a knowledge-based tool, like access to Wikipedia, and it can tap into this huge, structured well of human knowledge. And with custom tools, well, the possibilities are pretty much endless. We can teach it to save a file, send an email, you name it. Basically anything you can write code for.
But wait, how does the agent know which tool to use and when? Well, it's actually pretty simple. We have to write a clear, simple description for every single tool. Think of it exactly like putting labels on the tools in your toolbox. A good, clear label like, use this to search for recent news events, lets the agent intelligently figure out which tool to grab for the specific problem it's trying to solve.
Okay, so we've laid out all the parts on the workbench. We've got the brain, we've got the blueprint, the instructions, and the tools. Now let's see exactly how they all snap together to create our fully functional AI agent.
So, this is it. This is the fundamental architecture of any modern AI agent. It's really just these 4 pillars. You need a brain to do the thinking. You need a blueprint to give those thoughts structure. You need a set of instructions to give it purpose and a mission. And finally, you need a set of tools to turn those thoughts into real-world actions. And just like the developer behind this agent blueprint said, we are just scratching the surface of what's possible here. Getting a handle on these 4 pillars, it isn't just some boring academic exercise. It's literally the key that unlocks a whole new wave of apps that can go out and tackle some incredibly complex real-world problems. This lets you build some really cool stuff. And, that really brings us to the most important point of all. This kind of power, the ability to literally assemble intelligence, it's not just for giant tech labs anymore. The blueprint is right here. It's in your hands now. So the only real question left is, what problems are you going to solve?